e-commerce. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to the next, if he wants to be Prime Minister of Sweden, Mikael Olander.
And we are so happy to have you here, Mikael.
Thank you.
You said before that working with e-commerce and CD-ON is as stimulating as athletics in the Olympics. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I think building great companies is as fun and stimulating as competing in sports. And I actually see a lot of similarities between sports and business. I mean, you have to be very passionate. You have to work hard. You have to set long-term goals. You have to make a plan. You have to execute. You have to evaluate, and then you have to do it all over again. So I think that's. Then sports are actually also run on a yearly cycle. You plan for next season and so on, and then so it's much like making a budget actually.
When everybody else in Sweden was freaking out and questioning the internet right after the .com boom, you weren't. Why?
Yeah, because I think maybe I wasn't really part of the boom really. Of course, I had high hopes for e-commerce and the company that I joined, but I think I was a little bit more cautious maybe. And but then on the contrary, I could quite early on see some promising trends on CD-ON.com. So already in year 2000, we had some great sales and decent margins and a fast growth. So I could see a strong fundament for a healthy business already back in 2000, which of course made me less nervous about the future. Yeah.
I'd actually like to talk about your time at CD-ON just a little bit. So you worked for MTG Internet Retailing, which is the massive media conglomerate in Sweden, and that's a department at MTG. But soon after that, you got an interesting offer, which we've already spoiled a little bit. What was the offer, and can you tell us about it?
Yeah, like I said, I joined MTG Internet Retailing in the spring of 2000, which was in the middle of the boom. And then in the summertime of 2000, everything collapsed, as you might remember. And I think it started with a high-profile site named DressSmart that closed down in the summer, and then everything went down. And then of course MTG decided to put less focus on e-commerce. And so they gave me the chance of becoming CEO of CD-ON.com, and then we closed down everything else. So back then we had 12 sites in the spring of 2000.
Wow.
2000, and ended up with just CD-ON.com.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And you had a competitor at the time, Boxman, who was very aggressive in expanding to other countries. And you mentioned before that it was a good thing to be number two. Number two is usually not a good thing. So can you explain your thinking behind that?
Yeah, number two is usually very bad. That's correct.
Especially in sports.
Yeah. No, but I mean, looking at very early stages of new technique or new businesses, then I think it's usually extremely costly to break ground. And so I think in these early days, I think it was great to have Boxman spending all the money and doing all the testing. And as an example, we heard rumors that Boxman spent 100 million kronas on their website and ERP system, which is a lot of money. I mean, nowadays you can get that for about maybe for a tenth of that cost. So they took a big hit for us. Yeah.
When you saw that the future of CDs were looking bleak, you decided to buy up a lot of companies to offer a wider range of products. Can you talk a little about how and why you made that decision?
Yeah, that decision really didn't have anything to do with the CDs actually, because I mean, of course, CD-ON.com had some challenges with the CD market going down, starting in year 2000, which was a peak of CD sales. But that was solved through by broadening the assortment on CD-ON.com. So we launched books and games and mobile telephones and so on. So we made CD-ON. It went from a CD site to an entertainment site. So that was a question to that problem really. But then we also could see a lot of potential in other segments, which could not fit within the CDON.com entertainment umbrella. So we, for example, sports and fashion. So that's what happened.
Okay. So in 2007, I'm going to list off a bunch of companies you guys bought. In 2007, you bought Book Plus and Nelly. 2008, Gymgrossisten, Fitness Tuku, and Body Store. 2 years later, in 2010, you bought Lekmer.se and launched Heppu.se. And finally, in 2011, you launched Members.se, Room21, and bought 30.se. How did you know if these are the right companies to buy? And yeah, why did you choose these in particular?
Yeah, like I said, first of all, we identified some segments which we thought that would be the next wave of e-commerce. So the first wave was apparently CDs and books and so on. So once CDON.com became quite big and profitable, we were looking for opportunities. So that was a starting point.
Okay.
So let's talk about Nelly, for example. So then we decided to go into fashion, which a couple of years earlier, nobody really thought that you could sell clothing online, because that was totally impossible without trying it out, and so on. But we thought that would change over time, and then we were looking for companies that had a fast growth, stable finances, and with some kind of leading position within that segment, and also we also wanted to have, of course, a strong management team, which would dedicated and willing to stay on for at least 3 years. So that's how we identify Nelly, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd like to read a quote of yours, except you obviously said this in Swedish and not in English, so hopefully you'll recognize it. The goal is not to keep every penny of profit for yourself. We'd rather reinvest the money to grow the company. We know that there are advantages to scaling and becoming larger because it's harder for others to challenge an obvious market leader. So is this the mindset that other companies should adopt, everyone here in the room?
Yeah, I think that's the only way forward, actually. I mean, I think over time it's going to be difficult to be a small player when you compete against larger players, and that's something you could see also on the segments now being more mature. Like I mean, going back to CDs, of course, that might be a bad example, but CDs and fashion and so on. That's in the early days we had a lot of competition, maybe 10 to 20 different sites selling the same products. But then as time moves on, you will almost always see one or two larger players being left, making some money, actually. So I think that's what's going to happen in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
My understanding of CDON is that you were known for being very tight with money. Keeping everything in-house was very important to you, and you built your own platform, rarely hired consultants, and wanted to have all of your expertise in-house. How much do you think this affected CDON's profitability, and how do you view it now?
Yeah, I mean, I think e-commerce is like most retail. It's a low margin business. I mean, you buy some products and you sell them, and you sell them on with quite low margins. So I think that, I mean, the only way to ever make any money is to spend and invest wisely. Otherwise, you won't be profitable. So I think that's. I mean, I think looking at all the companies out there within e-commerce, having a good track record or holding on to the money tightly.
You're also known for having a strong opinion about outsourcing. When is it right to outsource, and when is it not? And what advice do you have for both retailers and suppliers when it comes to outsourcing?
Yeah, I'm not fond of outsourcing as a way of solving a problem. I think that's a wrong approach. So I think that you can't outsource responsibility, and I think that's what happened quite often. That you think, it's going to be so nice. It's going to be so nice to focus on the core business within the business. So let's put the customer service outside, so we can focus on selling. But that's usually going to end up quite badly for you. But then, of course, it comes to a point when if you can find a partner that's going to be able to perform something a lot better than you are, for example, logistics or customer service, by the way. So if you're certain that partner could do it a lot better than you could, then of course you should consider it. But you also have to look at that supplier as a partner. You can't see it as a supplier, and so you have to work really closely. And you have to make sure that partner supplier share your high goals and your high targets, because that also happens quite often that you have a lot of ambitions, and then the supplier has to be. You have to make sure that you have the same vision for that service, and then you always have to keep an ownership internally, and that stays together with the whole thinking. So then, of course, we have done a lot of outsourcing, but that's what we learned through the years.
Was being introduced on the Nasdaq the ultimate goal for you personally? Because a lot of entrepreneurs that we talk to lose their fire when they reach their ultimate goal. Was it the case for you?
No, the stock market was just a natural step for CDON at that point in time. We were part of MTG, and then obviously we were not the core business within MTG. I mean, a huge listed company doing broadcasting. So and that was great for a couple of years, of course, being left alone. We liked that, but then at a certain point that started to slow us down, and we actually had reached a size which was big enough for us to stand on our own. So that was one. So it had nothing to do with my personal aspirations at all.
Okay,
so
then.
I'd like to talk about Bygghemma a little bit, actually. And I think, are we going to show a slide? I think we want to show some slides. There we go. Okay. So in 12 years at CDON, you grew the company from an experiment at MTG to a multi-billion crown conglomerate. And one would assume that you'd be happy and satisfied with what you've accomplished by this time, but you weren't. So my question is, why did you jump back into the deep end with Bygghemma and do it all again? Are you motivated by the same reasons now as you were then?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm still very proud of what we have achieved at CDON Group, of course. It was 12 great years, fantastic years, and but 12 years is a long time, and then and I started once I got the thought about doing something else, I quite quickly decided to move on, because I think that's a bad thing for me. At least I need to be 110% motivated, and just the thought was enough for me to start moving on, and the trigger was to do the same journey again. I mean, to build something from small size to large size. So that's the same kind of trigger that I had before. So nothing changed. I just went back to a smaller company, and we'll hopefully be able to build a bigger company.
Yeah, you seem like you have a talent for that.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how you and Bygghemma first got in touch? Was it you who reached out, or was it Bygghemma?
Yeah, we were in touch since 2008, actually, as colleagues within eCommerce. So it was just like meeting a colleague, meeting a fellow company out there.
Okay.
So it was a natural contact. Yeah.
Okay. So now that you're with Bygghemma, you've been broadening your product range yet again, and this kind of reminds me of, when you were at CDON. So is your reasoning for buying these companies today the same as it was then?
So that was the thing about there was the same framework actually that I wanted to apply on Bygghemma as at CDON Group, but this time within one segment only, home and garden. So of course I'm trying to do the same. I'm trying to repeat the successes and avoid all the failures.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Some have said that it was easy for you to succeed with a massive company like MTG backing you. How do you feel about statements like this?
Yeah, I think it's totally wrong, of course. But I mean, that's no. We actually had very little support from MTG. I met the board once every 3 months and had no contact at all in between. So what we did get was a discount at internal media, but that won't build a great company. So what happened was that we actually got profitable somewhat earlier than we would have done on our own, so to speak. And but it's not that easy, because if that had been the answer, then I guess that MTG and TV4 would have all the e-commerce sites in the Nordics, but they don't. So.
Right.
And also looking at Bygghemma now, so far at least we are doing okay without the owner of MTG's size. I think that proves the point. Yeah.
So today, Bygghemma, you guys call yourself the largest in the do-it-yourself sector, and this obviously is a much broader term than Bygghemma was known for before construction. So this kind of makes me think that you guys have plans to acquire a bunch more companies in the future. Can you comment on this? Yeah,
that's correct. We want to be in a larger segment than just construction, so that's why we we were talking about home and garden, and we already have done a lot of, or quite a few acquisitions, as you can see on the slide, I think. So that's what we already started that journey. That was actually part of the plan already from when I joined in 2012. So roll out geographically and then expand to new businesses.
So when you came, it was construction. You wanted to broaden it to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bygghemma is going to grow faster than CDON, you said. How will you do that?
Yeah, that's going to have to happen by running faster, of course. So that's the and then hopefully it's going to be easier the second time around. Like I said, we can hopefully we could use what's worked out great at CDON and try to avoid the bad things. And then I think also we also dare to be more aggressive this time. Because back then, I can remember back in, of course, being somewhat affected by the negative feelings about e-commerce in 2001, 2002. So everybody thought that we were going to close down within a couple of weeks all the time. So we were just happy to grow from 20 million to 50 million to 150 to 300. And every year we thought that was going to slow down, but it never slowed down, of course. So that's what. So now we have some facts on hand. So I think that's going to help us to move on faster.
In 2012, you hired the CFO of CDON, Martin Edblad, and the CEO of Nelly.com, Peter Rosvall. Why did you hire them, and do you have any advice for finding the right people for the right role in your company?
Yeah. I mean, that was of course a major part of being able to run faster was to have the right team in place. And then and when I left CDON, I was fortunate enough that some of the best people wanted to join Bygghemma Group, and there's nothing strange about that. We have been working together for 10 years. So I would say that all in all, have about 10 people from CDON Group today working at Bygghemma.
Wow.
So that's helped me out a lot, being able to find the best people that also knows what it takes to win.
So you said before that you need to grow fast so you can create enough distance between you and your competitors, so they can't challenge you, basically. So do you think that you with Bygghemma do you think you're in that position now? Do you think you have a lot of distance?
No, not at all. but I think we have a good position to build that distance. So I mean, and then we are the biggest player, but not big enough. So, but yeah, we got a good start. So we are very happy about the past 2 years, but we are not there yet.
Yeah. So soon you'll conquer the world.
Yeah.
You recently bought Trademax in 2013. How did you successfully integrate the two companies together? If we looked into, for example, logistics.
Yeah. No, so I mean, looking at Bygghemma Group today, we have two business units, and one is actually Trademax on its own, and that's home furnishing, and then the other leg is home improvement, which is all the other sites, Bygghemma and so on. So we did not do a whole lot of integration between Trademax and Bygghemma. So it was more like an acquisition, like Nelly and CDON.com. When we looked at the joint contracts, of course we're doing the finances, accounting, controlling, and some other parts, but mostly best practice actually. So that's what happened today. So Trademax now is pretty much standalone like Nelly was at the CDON Group.
Okay. So, question: how much of your revenue is organic growth from Bygghemma, and how much of it is from Trademax, if you care to comment?
Yeah, of course.
And not just Trademax, but other companies as well.
Now we are most proud about our organic growth. I mean, being the growth coming from our own business, so to speak, and we have been growing by 50% on a yearly basis since.
Wow.
I think maybe we might have a slide on that actually. But
there we go.
so we actually grew by close to 50% organically since the start, which I think now the company being 8 years old, and we are also in 2014 growing by 50% organically.
Wow.
So that's the main focus. But then we have acquired about 250 million kronas. So out of this year's turnover for that's slightly above 1 billion kronas. We acquired 250.
Okay.
But the goal is to find great and promising companies, and then continue to build them as fast as possible, and so far it's looking good.
Okay, great.
Both with CDON and Bygghemma, you've been known to use a lot of TV commercials. In your experience, are they as effective today as they were before?
Yeah, but we still run a lot of TV because we think that's a good combination between TV and online. But the importance of TV has decreased, and then of course online has increased, and I think that's going to continue. So TV will traditional TV at least, something might happen, of course, with that could replace the TV. But right now, traditional TV will continue to lose ground.
Okay, so I'm going to quote you again.
Yeah.
You said that there are 3 components that are essential for success. Number 1, a great selection of products so that everybody can find what they want. 2, good prices. 3, a great shopping experience. So how have you done this at Bygghemma? And also, was there an area in Bygghemma that you had to focus more on?
Yeah, that's the same framework as we work today, and I think that's the only framework, because that's what you could offer. You could offer all the products at good prices, with the best service and convenience and so on. So once I've said that, I covered it all actually. That's all aspects of e-commerce. And then I think that you should always look at this as this improvement process as a never-ending story. And the way we look at it is we're looking at the business as a chain of links, and you always have to improve the weakest link. And once you've done that, of course, you will by definition have a new weaker link, because the one being the next weakest will become the weakest, and then you have to work at that. So I think that's the way we're working in.
Okay.
So we'll never be done. And right now we're going to launch a new web design, and we're running logistical projects. And
Okay, exciting. But when can we see
to mention
that?
a few, the web design is going to be
A couple of months?
I know how it works.
That's okay.
We didn't plan
in a
for
month.
that question.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yeah. Within a month.
Something you said to me before was that you wished you had put more attention on technology at CDON. How did you change that with Bygghemma?
Yeah, that's right. That was one of the lessons learned from CDON, that I think it was I was holding on too tightly on the money in that respect. Which we always had a list of 100 great projects that would be very profitable from day one, that we never got to fast enough, at least. So yes, so we are investing more in IT this time around. Yeah.
Okay, so moving at a rapid pace and knowing exactly when to execute is sort of your mantra. It's what you believe in. But if you're in a situation where you're forced to choose between launching a product that is not perfect and maybe with speed, or waiting and refining it, which do you normally go for? What do you think is better?
Yeah, I think that depends on the product. So I mean, if you're looking at the new fancy technical device, then you should wait, because then you should not be the guinea pig.
Okay.
Like maybe Boxman was. I mean, then somebody else has to break the ground. But then, of course, if you're looking at the product that's in high demand, then that's or a service, then we would launch and fix.
Okay.
What has been your focus at Bygghemma to stay profitable?
Yeah, we put up. I mean, looking at Bygghemma Sweden, of course, now we are a group of companies. So I mean, looking at Bygghemma Sweden, we made a target from being break-even basically in 2011. The target was to increase the profit level by 1% per year moving forward. So from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. So that was a target we put up, and then what we could have made more, we are reinvesting into faster growth.
Okay. So if you had to give an approximate percentage of how many at Bygghemma work with different departments, what percent work with the IT or technical stuff at Bygghemma?
I have to look at got some notes on that.
That's a complicated one.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I can't memorize that much. No, but we're growing quite quickly, of course. So that changing all the time. That depends on how you define the different roles, of course. I mean, looking at we have a lot of telephone sales, and if you define them as sales or customer service and so on. But looking at Bygghemma, could say that we have about 10% on the IT department, roughly, and we have about 50% in sales and marketing.
Wow. Okay.
If you include telephone sales
Okay.
in that department, and then about 5% logistics, 15 customer service, and business development. I think should mostly be done by the management.
Okay.
I don't think they should have. We have one person at the group level, and that's enough. And then the rest is financing and controlling.
So do you feel like this form, or the percentage you have now, do you feel like that's the right formula to have, or has this worked in the past for you? Are you happy with this?
Yeah, like I said, maybe we should increase on IT, like I said before, even more. But that's also a matter of finding the right people and getting a well-functioning group and so on. So we are expanding the IT department right now. That's where we are hiring people at the moment.
Okay.
As a leader, how do you motivate your employees in the company to think more about profitability?
Yeah, I think that by setting clear targets for the people having budget responsibilities, and also when making general presentations at the company level, always talk about at least 2 targets, and that's sales and EBIT, and so I think that's gonna make a big difference, of course, what we communicate. And then we are closing our books on a monthly basis. We are working with in able to get the fast feedback if something was bad, and we're working with ClickView and so on on a daily basis for the product people that are in charge of sales and margins. So I think that's one thing we're doing quite well at Bygghemma, that we are on top of the business.
Okay. You spoke before about the importance of viewing your job as more of a lifestyle than a job between 8 and 5. How do you help your staff to think more like this?
Yeah, I think the best way is to hire the right people from the beginning. No, but seriously, I think that we have a lot to offer. I mean, we are working in a fast-growing business, and if you have that kind of mindset to start with, then of course you're going to be attracted by the high speed, by the development, by big chances of getting personal development within the company, and also by being a part of a winning team, having a chance to make a difference and so on. So I think all these aspects will, if you have the right people to start with, they're going to be triggered by the opportunities within the company. Okay. So that's going to be some self-feeding.
So it's been about 15 years since you became CEO at CDON. How in your experience has e-commerce changed over the years?
Yeah, it changed a lot. I mean, I can't even. Looking back today, it's hard to understand how we could sell anything at all in year 2000. I mean, I don't know if you. I guess a few people remember that far back, but but I mean, looking at all the sites were extremely slow. I mean, you had like 2-3 seconds to open a page, and you could hardly navigate. And we delivered the CDs in 2 weeks. Customer service took about a week to answer a question.
Wow.
And if that happened today, you wouldn't sell anything at all. But back then you had a reference from mail order businesses. I think that was a reference back then. And then of course on a yearly basis that the demands from the consumer has been increasing quite rapidly. And that's what's so fun about e-commerce. It happens a lot.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Some have said that CDON Group has had problems after you left as CEO. Can you comment on that?
No, I mean, I've been focusing fully on Bygghemma Group since I left, of course. I mean, I'm spending all my time on building that business, and so that's really what I know. The only thing I know is that the company was in good shape when I left, but I think maybe they lost too much people. I think losing myself was okay, of course. That was not a big problem because we had a great team running the business, so that wouldn't be. But maybe too many people left within 12 months.
Okay.
That's what I think. Yeah.
So, do you think it's possible today to build another CDON or Amazon or Adlibris, or do you think it's too late?
No, that's hopefully possible, because that's what I hope to do with Bygghemma, of course, and I think that's always going to be possible to build something big and new.
So you said in Dagens industry that today Bygghemma is the largest do-it-yourself shop in the or online shop in the Nordics. So you've laid the groundwork to go after this 200 billion crown market that belongs to do-it-yourself and furniture in the Nordics. You said you calculated about 20 to 30% of those markets will be online soon. So what percentage do you think will be Bygghemma's and when?
Yeah. No, I think we have a great platform. I mean, looking at the companies in the group, I think we have something to build on, and we already reached our first target of 1 billion krona. That was a goal in 2012. So, and I also think it's quite dangerous to put. I think it's hard to put targets, because if you put too low targets, then you will make the wrong priorities, and the people might slow down once they reach the budget. If you put too high targets, then you will also make the wrong priorities, and people might become demotivated. So what we have done now is that we have a target of 5 billion kronas, and that's a mental target without a time frame. So 5 billion kronas, sometime we're going to reach 5 billion kronas. And then we are of course working with yearly budgets, which we are trying to reach on a daily basis.
Okay.
So that would mean about 10% when the market reaches 50 billion kronas.
Okay.
As soon as possible.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm quite nervous about this question actually. I met you a couple of times now, and let's say I was interested in working for you. What are the chances of me getting a job interview?
All right. Now we are always looking for good people, and that's the reason why I'm here today actually, because I want to find good people. So that's a good chance. We are hiring people all the time, and like I said, that's a good thing about fast-moving businesses, that we always have openings. And I think that's one of the really wonderful things about working at Bygghemma, for example, and also CDON back in the old days, that if you find the right person, you can hire that person even if you don't have an opening today.
I'm quite disappointed actually.
But now you guys know he's looking for good people, so if you're a good person, go talk to him. Okay, so we know you're not really fond of interviews like this, so we really want to thank you for sharing everything you've learned throughout your career. Everybody, please give him a warm round of applause.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.